does death just happen, or does God choose when we will die?
Yeah.
Like, why does he kill some people if he's the one doing the killings soon and not, earlier than other people?
To me, I think this is actually one of the most misunderstood views of God and death that people have, and that Christians in particular have.
Okay.
Because
all I did was ask a question.
I know. And I'm just saying that what your question, like the voicing of your question, I think is a really good question, because I think a lot of people misunderstand it. Okay. And so I do think God has chosen, because again, on the passage I just read a little bit ago, that God is determined, appointed times, and so appointed days and all that kind of stuff. I do think God has like days and plans for his creation. Okay. But I do not think that it's determined to the point to where they inevitably all come to pass. And that I do think that we have people that die prematurely. That die before the Lord even had wanted or desired for them to die. But because of whether it's sin in this world, and most often in actions and decisions that are made by people, whether that leads to, again, their own death, or they make a bad decision and then it impacts somebody else, where it leads to that other person's death. I do think there are times where horrible things happen that lead to death. And sometimes it's not even like intentional decisions. Sometimes it's accidents that happen that lead to death, that I don't think that it's always like, oh, well, that was the Lord's appointed time. And so I really, for me, I think this is absolutely, like, I've been in rooms where someone comes to a grieving mother who's lost their child and says, well, I guess the Lord just needed your child more in heaven than the Lord needed that child here. And I think that's one of the worst things to possibly say to someone. Not because I'm going to sit here as playing God and acting as if I understand all of the ins and outs of it, but I think sometimes people die and it wasn't like it was the Lord's will.
So the way that so the way I should look at it is people just die.
Yes. Okay. Sometimes needlessly.
And God sometimes wanted them to die and sometimes didn't want them to die.
I think that's a fair way of looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you never know which. So the best way to think about it is that people just die.
Well, I think especially when there's accidents, when there's decisions made by other people that cause harm to others, I think suicide, things like that. I think all of those things are things that I'm not sitting here going, that was the Lord's timing for them to die. That is not the way. It was
the Lord's timing for him to commit suicide.
Yeah. See, that sounds. You even know that sounds terrible, and it does. And because I don't think it was the Lord's timing or the Lord's plan for that person to commit suicide, right? But they chose to. I don't think it was necessarily always the Lord's timing or plan for someone to get hit by a drunk driver and die, but they did. I don't think it was the Lord's plans for a child to, accidentally make a decision that led to their untimely death. And I think it's terrible if we as Christians believe that every time something happens that it's got to be the Lord's doing.
Okay.
And so I just think that because of free will and because of living in a fallen, broken world, this is what we experience. And, and then other times the Lord in his mysterious ways will ask, I'm not saying asking, I'm not saying like he asks a question. I'm saying he'll take people, and it may seem to us to be too early or too soon, but yet the Lord's working out something bigger and greater than what we can see in that.